stole my heart of gold after my silver soul. Can you dig any deeper now? I gave you all I own, put you on this golden road, but I'm a little stronger now. You cashed in on my promises, you know I'm too generous. Now I've learned to never help you out, 'cause I'm done cleaning up your mess. Found myself in my regrets. I've become a little stronger now, a little stronger now.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Freaky Fast Broadcasting on your Tuesday evening. The drivers of the Full Set Racing Series get to try out their first test at road course racing for Season 5 as we head international to Belgium for the Spa-Francorchamps. The drivers get to test out this 20-corner course, and it's going to be a great one to watch on how the drivers are going to be ebbing and flowing throughout this run, as tonight's race is the GresimStudio Grand Prix 157, here tonight. As the drivers are set, practice is done, qualifying underway, and you can see the timer. We have 8.5 seconds left in this qualifying session. The reason why this course is a long one, it's 4.35 miles in distance. Each lap is around 2.5 minutes in distance, and these drivers haven't even started their first lap, so it's going to be a long qualifying to watch out who's going to make the mistakes of going off course and validating their time. And we're going to give you all the action here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting. My name is Sam Dyer. Joining me up the booth is going to be Trevor Earhart. And Trevor, this race, we've been harping on it, an unknown for a lot of drivers, but it's time for those road course ringers to pop up and go for the win.
Yeah, it's going to be a big unknown here tonight on what we're going to see. We think we have some fan favorites based off what we've seen in the past, but you never know with some of the new guys that have joined in the league what we're going to see here tonight, and especially around this racetrack. Sam, almost 4.5 miles, 20-ish corners to 21 corners, depending on how you want to count it. It's a long racetrack, and we could be in for a big shock here tonight.
We certainly could be. A lot of drivers we're talking about the first couple of corners, first couple of laps, going to be very crucial on how your race overall can go. 30 laps doesn't seem to be a long time when you're out on track, but when this course is almost 4.5 miles in distance, any small mistake can balloon out, as we've got a cluster of drivers starting their first laps. It's time to get a test of, can these drivers stay on course? I think that's been the big thing, Trevor, is drivers have learned that during race time, there are going to be no instant points to worry about, but mistakes like that can throw away lap times and not allow you to qualify up front, get that track position. It's going to be so crucial here in the beginning.
Yeah, that was Philip Chavez there in the 101 that we saw go for a little spin there, and that's the kind of mistakes that you and I were talking about there, Sam, before we went live, was in qualifying. If drivers would have time to reset if they made a mistake on their out lap or first lap to get a time in based off lap times and how big this racetrack is. But track position definitely going to be important. Getting a clean lap, I think just one clean lap in is going to be really important for these guys, and not getting that off track penalty, so these lap times count, so they can at least have some form of track position here tonight.
For qualifying, drivers were given a total of 10 minutes to put down 2 lap times, and we're almost at the halfway marker already, and no drivers have put in an official lap time yet. Have over half the field that's already started on their first lap, and based off of how this is looking, you've got to be picture perfect if you want to hit your marks and at least get 1 lap in, let alone aiming for your second lap. If you gun it too much, maybe used up too much of that rubber and the heat's too great, it's going to be a hard run for yourself. The 19 of Jacob Grant going to be taking a very generous approach on the last chicane. Across the line, he's going to be starting his first lap. That's just a warm-up lap for the 19. He's got to be quick on it if he wants to get 2 laps in, but most likely it's just going to be 1 lap attempt for Jacob Grant.
Yeah, Grant's going to have to be, I think, picture perfect here, Sam, if he wants this first, what looks like it's going to be his one and only lap to count and be, quick for himself. But we're going to have to wait and find out as he heads up into Rouge and Radion up here through the S's. And this could be a really tricky par for these guys. It kind of off-camber and up through these S's could really upset the car. A little bit of a wiggle there as it gets onto the straightaway, but one of those points of the racetrack we're going to have to keep our eyes out on it all night long.
Then down the Kemmel straight into one of the more technical aspects of this course, a hard right-hander into turns 5, 6. Little kink that you're working here where drivers are expected to be driving off course. If you hit a bad braking zone, lock up the brakes, go into the grass, and maybe even come across and make contact. John Dark going to be the first driver to put down in time, a 2-minute 30.425 second lap time, and multiple drivers are seeing lap times already invalidated on their first lap, but others seeing the marks already top of the board. Chris Stitz in the 17 taking the top spot currently, as Joshua Altus, as well as Will Bustler, Nick Holland, Brian McCann, Sam Siegel, all hoping these times are going to be counted as they're now topping the board, but they're all having to attack Zach Hall, who just put down one of his fastest laps of the whole entire session. That was faster than even his practice time.
Yeah, I was looking at those lap times. Chris Stitz was about right there with what Zach ran in practice. Zach's going to end up running about 3/10 quicker on his first qualifying lap. So great lap from him. Is Jacob Grant here still trying to get through with his first lap as the times continue to come in. Christopher Norris now up to third, and Brian Wilson in fourth.
And going to be seeing Christopher Norris, that third place position open and maybe gain a little bit more. But the clock is ticking away if you do not get your time in with about 2 minutes and 30 seconds left in the clock. Most likely these drivers will not be able to put down a second time. But if you've already clocked in your first lap, you have to make sure the second one you're hitting your marks and you're not making any mistakes. Jacob Grant, again, trying not to go off those rumble strips. If you do and you touch the dirt, that is going to invalidate this whole entire lap that you're putting into. Some drivers still not in the session have been disconnected. We'll see if they'll be connecting back into this. Is Peter Dillon has been disconnected. We're hoping that he can get back out on the track. Will Hustler looking like he's going to be not putting down a qualifying time, nor is that of Curtis Valechka deciding to just start on the back and see how this race just translates moving forward as the drivers 17 have put down a lap time, and Zach Hall is still top of the board. And for Zach Hall, Chris Stitz, Brian Wilson, all have decided they're not going to attempt for another lap, nor is Christopher Norris, and everyone from fifth on back still trying to give themselves another chance on their second lap.
Yeah, that's not at all surprised to see that from Zach, Chris, and Norris there to put in one lap, feeling that the lap is going to be pretty good. It was pretty good in practice time wise as well. So not surprised to see them take one lap at it. Here comes Dalton Alexander, Sam, with a really good lap time for himself. Going to put himself fifth fastest on the board as Cedric Hunter crosses the line to start either his first lap or his second lap here for himself as he heads off into turn number one.
Dylan Alexander, one of the fill-in drivers for today's race, filling in for Doug Pierce on the 39 machine. Qualified fifth currently on the board. See if there's any more movement. Another fill-in driver that was supposed to show up today, Trey Jackson, for Andrew Medlin in the 12. Going to be hoping to get out on track. We'll see if he can show up qualifying as currently the 7 of Cedric Hunter. Trying to get the first lap clocked in, not going to count. And hoping to maybe get some little bit of extra. It's the 4 machine. Seeing that of David McConnell. Currently, no laps have counted on the last qualifying lap with 1 minute and 30 left in qualifying. We're right on the top of the 4. One of the drivers that's really going to be one of the drivers that look in the middle of the course. Practice times. There's a good selection, about 8 drivers, pretty close to one another, about a half a second from that of 8th back to 16th. Those drivers are going to be having a battle all night long, or will they get spread out pretty quickly as the fast end of this course? It's the last sector where everyone's going flat out until they get to this last chicane where it's 18, 19, where the 4 are hard on the braking zones, hitting the apexes, making sure you're carrying as much momentum, getting the better launch out of turn 19, and hitting the front stretch to finish out this final lap.
Yeah, finish out the lap. Got to be careful though not to run too wide. Coming out of 19, there's that lap for David is going to count. Only going to be good for 20th, or that for 19th position, but nonetheless still got a lap in for himself. I was going to say, Sam, had to be careful there coming out of that final chicane. Easy to run wide there, trying to get back on the power, and could have invalidated his lap. And here we were on board there with the 101 of Philip Chavez, but here's Cedric Hunter trying to get his lap in. Sam, I don't know if he's going to have time. He's on the back half of the racetrack here, but only 21 seconds left.
Yeah, he's just looking to be way too far back. He needs to be where the 6 and others are running, and it doesn't look to be at that spot. I mean, 6th place runner of Dalton Alexander. Alexander looking like he might be able to finish out a second lap time, but Cedric Hunter too far back. The clock ticks away. He runs off course. That lap's not going to count. He's going to start the back half of the field with the grouping of around 10 drivers not able to put a time down, either by volunteering not to or not able to get a valid lap time, and just showing the difficulty qualifying has already shown here as see an aerial view of Spa, this track up and down through the hills, and it's going to be a fun one to watch. Can the drivers handle the verticality, or can they even stay out on track as the field going to be just setting up to grid a little bit further back than our starting line, but it's going to be a quick turnaround before we go green. And as the drivers grid up, let's take a look at our starting results here tonight. taking the pole award. It's the 32 of Zach Hall for himself. Driving another pole for his career in the Full Send Racing Series. Chris Stitz, a quick time, besting his practice, and going to be coming up a position shy to the top of the board. Going to be second for the 17. Christopher Norris third. Brian L. Wilson in fourth, known for being good at the road courses. We'll see how the 9 can run. Cameron Sarton, one of the top 3 favorite drivers to watch out for this evening, with Dalton Alexander 6th. 7th goes to Jay Beckard. Brian McCann 8th. 9th goes to Ken Campbell. And Brandon Colley falls to 10th place.
Sam Siegel will start in 11th with Tyler Thomas in 12th. John Dart will start 13th with his brother Travis Dart in 14th. Tony Brent will start in 15th with Jacob Grant in 16th. Jonathan Burt 17th with Nick Holland in 18th. David McConnell 19th, and Alex Jones will be in 20th.
21st, it's the 7 of Cedric Hunter, not able to get a time in. Caleb Smith, who looked quick during practice, could be starting back in 22nd position. Philip Chavez, not able to get a time in during qualifying, starting in 23rd. Curtis Valechka, volunteering not to put a time in, but because everyone else that didn't even try, his iRating pushes the 44 up to 24th. 25th goes to Will Bustler. 26th position goes to William Duff. Then 27th is Joshua Altus. Christopher Melton, 28th. Peter Dillon, yet to still register back in. I don't know if the 27th is going to make the race. He'll be back in 29th. If he does register, he'll be starting in pit road. And Ryan Lynch finishing out our 30 drivers here this evening. As we're setting up, getting prepared, it's going to be a mad dash this first couple of laps. And these first couple of corners going to be heavily dangerous to watch out for. Man, here we go. Pace car into pit road. Zach Hall, Chris Ditz take control out of the last chicane into the restart zone. And let's get racing here tonight as the green flag is out for the GresimStudio Grand Prix 157. Here we go, Trevor. It's time for road course racing.
Time for a road course racing, and Norris with a big push to his teammate through a bumper. Can they all get through turn 1 cleanly? Zach's a little bit wide. Here comes Norris to the inside. Doesn't have the momentum off. Zach gets through. Looks like everybody also through behind them. Sammy, we've got through turn 1 cleanly.
Turn 1 might have been the easy part. This is the hardest part of the track. Going up through El Rouge into Radion. One of the fastest uphill climbs they're going to be ever taking in these stock cars as they climb the hill. Everyone looks neat and tidy. Now one of the fastest straightaways after making the climb as they go down the Kemmel stretch, getting ready for the most technical aspect in the field. Heavy blocks all around in the middle portion, but it's all Zach Hull as they make the hard braking zone into turn 5 and 6.
Zach leaves them into 5 and 6. Norris trying to hold on to that second position over Chris Ditz. Brian Wilson there. Cameron starting in the 24, all there. The top, the second, all the way back through about that of 6th place. All nose to tail with one another. A little bit of a dive there from the 9 of Wilson. Looking to the inside of Chris Ditz. Doesn't, or thinks better of it. Backs out in the field, just snaking through slowly or one at a time. Sam, and really clean start to this race.
Downhill climb, and this is one more unique downhill climbs after this group. Zach hitting the double left-hander, double apex that the drivers have to climb through. And drivers, are they going to hold steady in the throttle, or are they just going to let their car coast on this double apex? And these shots showing the drivers all trying to hit the same points on the track, snaking their way through the course. They make it through turns 10, 11, and here's another last little technical aspect of this course where it's the sand traps. Dangerous spots if you find yourself going a little bit too wide.
Yeah, really dangerous if you find the tire into the grass trying to get into this braking zone. Can drag you right off the track into those sand traps, and those don't slow you down a lot. And it's going to be right into the tire barriers if you get a tire off. It looks like everybody's so far navigating cleanly through there as they head on to what is essentially the backstrokes. A little bit of a fast kink in it though, which can be tricky for these drivers to navigate before they get to the final chicane.
As you're going to be seeing the drivers blasting their way through that little kink, and drivers going to be using a lot of that aspect of going wide, trying to use every little bit of this track. Drivers have no instant limits, meaning that you can go off track as many times as you want, but there can be certain parts of this course that can give you trouble, as John Dark going extremely wide there. Other drivers smoking up in front as the 5 went too wide, couldn't slow down in time, and see a little bit of the drivers clustering around. This is back around that little path I was talking about. Expecting to see a lot of drivers from the 8th down to 16th position that just can't get away from one another as Zach Hall leads lap number 1.
Yeah, I mean, this is the area that we saw a lot of people close in practice times. Nick Holland spins out on the exit of turn 1 all by himself, trying to get on the power 2. Soon spins the 13 around, so he has to wait now for everybody to go by before he gets back around and rejoins the race. But a simple little mistake like that And then for John Dart in the 5, Sam, I think still trying to serve a slowdown penalty for cutting that final chicane, finally back up to speed as he goes up a Rouge.
Finally done, but another driver with a warning that he's got to slow down. Fortune Grant looks like on the top of Radeon had a penalty for himself. Also, other drivers trouble with Radeon. If you go too wide on that exit on the top of the hill when you make that climb, you will get a slowdown penalty, and drivers have to let off, and you're going to lose massive time as our Daytona winner trying to keep back the 5 of John Dart, but battling happening for the drivers around the middle of the pack. And for this 18th position, Tony Brent, what a charge for himself trying to hold off John Darden. As well in front of them, seeing Caleb Smith and Jonathan Burt trying to move forward. Burt, one of the biggest movers right now. Caleb Smith up 5 positions in this current stint.
Yeah, just slowly working his way forward. And I think for a lot of these guys in put in these qualifying times, it's going to be, can we survive, get by these guys that make mistakes, go off track, or have these slowdowns and not make as many mistakes as they do. As Smith goes to the inside of the 5 there of Jonathan Burt, who's a little bit loose through that double left-hander.
Very concerned for Burt as he's trying to keep that 6 machine underneath them. Goes wide once again, and it's so easy with these weaving corners that you can just, one bad entry can cost you multiple corners and the exit speed. And as you can see here, multiple positions under fire as Alex Jones tries to follow suit. Will Bustler as well, trying to get by this 6 machine. And Jonathan Burt and other drivers, we're talking about this. Drivers that are known at our oval courses to be in survival mode, hanging on yellow flags and big wrecks to try to gain some massive positions later on in a race. We're not expecting a full course yellow. There's still going to be a stage break here tonight, but the yellow will not be thrown for it at the end of lap 8. Top 10 drivers get bonus points. And that factor of no full course yellow puts a lot of pressure on these drivers that this far back that we were just looking at, those drivers are already 20 seconds off of our leader of Zach Hall, as you see Zach and Christopher Norris just pulling away from the rest of the field.
Yeah, not surprised to see Zach pulling away. And for that fact, Christopher Norris as well, he's turned into a really good road course racer over the last couple of seasons. So he's putting in a great effort here as they pulled away from Chris Stitz. But touching on what you were talking about, these guys at the back of the field, it's all about survival. Try to get the best results that you can by minimizing these mistakes with how big of a gap they already have from the leader.
And I'm looking at these drivers. Looks to be that El Rouge up to Radeon, that corners going up the hill after our first corner. It is hurting drivers badly as Chris Stitz, who was running in 3rd with a pretty good gap between himself and Cameron Sarton. Massive slowdown penalty for the 17. He's now in the hunt and fight to just survive inside of the top 5.
Yeah, had to give up that spot to Cameron Sarton and Brian Wilson, and almost fell into the clutches of Dalton Alexander, Brandon Cawley, and Brian McCann, who are all kind of here nose to tail with one another. And another little penalty like that, that could almost take Chris Stitz out of the top 10, Sam, if he has another big slowdown like that.
And the main reason it's hurting drivers is because when you go up that corner, drivers seem to be cutting the course on turn 4. Instead of going out wide, they're cutting into the track, which is giving them a massive slowdown penalty and also trying to recover. And in this group right now, there's a couple of drivers that I'm concerned about. Behind this grouping, as you see that Brandon Colley, it's Ken Campbell to 15, dealing with some massive front-end damage for the 15 machine, as it looked like in those first couple of laps, first corner of the first lap, drivers were already running into one another.
Yeah, Campbell's got some front-end damage, and I would take a bet, Sam, that the rear-end damage on the 10 of Jay Becker behind him, those two might line up with one another, and could have just been contact in the first corner and other parts during that first lap when everybody was stacked up on top of one another. And, here at road courses typically don't talk about damage, but with how fast Spa is, especially down the Camel Straight and down this back section of the racetrack, that front end damage could really hurt that 15 car overall.
It really could. The back stretch, the front stretch, many of spots that you don't want to be grabbing. Massive issues as through the last chicane, this grouping of drivers 3rd all the way back to around that of, I believe, 13, 14 position, are all still on top of one another. Excuse me, that's 3rd back to 11th that are all right on top of one another. This is is a fun group to watch, as this was kind of the interesting thing when we were looking at the positions. We knew Zach Hall was extremely fast and kind of was looking untouchable throughout practice, throughout the week, and then coming into this session. It was a question of where were drivers going to line up second, third on back. Christopher Norris looks to be solidifying for second place, but here comes our three-time winner of the season, Brian McCann, trying to put the pressure on the 99 of Brandon Colley.
Yeah, had a really good run up through a Rouge over the top already on here down the Camel Straight, but this is going to be a tough spot. It's going to be on the outside of the entry to this complex of corners. Not going to be able to stick it around to get to the inside of Brandon Colley, so you're going to have to fall back, try to reset up this 99 machine to get a pass, but McCann look a little bit faster than Brandon Colley as they've lost a little bit of time, as you can see the wheel work there from McCann as he heads down here into the really tight 7 and 8. It takes a hard right turn, and then it's going to set you up for a quick left before you get to the double left-handers coming up, still chasing the 99 machine.
And Brian McCann, huge thanks for showing his driver cams. You can see that hands working here tonight. Also for Brian McCann, has a YouTube channel where he shows off his karting abilities, a lot of road course karting driving for this 8 machine, and trying to bring in a little bit of that experience into tonight's race. A very different discipline of karting to stock car racing, but certainly it's always having some fun out on the road course, trying to find that little bit of inkling of speed to best the drivers around you.
Yeah, karting can be a lot of fun. I mean, you think about a little light, grippy go-karts that you can slide around the corners, but you're translating that into big, heavy stock cars with a lot of horsepower. Still slide around the corners, but I think a little bit more of a handful than those go-karts that he's probably used to driving, but doing a great job here early on lap 4, coming to lap 5, still trying to chase down Brandon Colley. And I'll tell you what, these two have been really close to each other throughout the course of this lap. One little mistake from Brandon Colley could see the state car get by him.
And that's the pressure that all these drivers are dealing with. One mistake. Now, since we're 4 laps into a run, seeing a lot more spacing going on between the drivers in the field. Now it's turning into, instead of pack racing on top of one another, it's kind of pod racing of having drivers, got a pack of 4 here, grouping of 2, drivers by themselves scattered around. And if you make one mistake, you might only lose now instead of 5 to 6 positions, just 1 or 2, unless you're in this group that we're watching up front. Jay Beckard, like we noted on, dealing with that back rear end right damage. But the 10, this is one of his better starts and came in with a lot of confidence. Hasn't been confident at the ovals. Road course racing is where the confidence has been, but right now feeling the pressure as Tyler Thomas in the 11, as that Texas Speed machine setting up as we go down El Rouge up to Radion. This uphill climb has been difficult for the drivers in the first couple of laps, but the 10, clean run as they hit the Camel Stretch.
Yeah, really clean run up through that little complex there. Had a bit of a scare out of turn number 1, got a little loose there, but was able to pull away from the 11 and Tyler Thomas down the Camel Straight, closing it in on Ken Campbell. And I'll tell you what, Becker's been stuck behind Campbell for the last couple of laps. I think it feels like he's a little bit faster, just hasn't quite found an opening in all this fighting. It's actually allowed the 7 of Cedric Hunter to close in on this group of 3s. He's already up 9 spots from where the 7 started, Sam. So Cedric with a really quick start to this race.
The biggest mover of the race so far goes to Cedric Hunter. Driver, though, having issues and into the gravel pit. It's going to be Chris Stitz, who has just been having a meltdown these last couple of laps. Once again, had issues on that Radeon corner, cutting it, had to lose positions. Brandon Colley, and then goes off into the gravel pit there. Tough run right now for Chris Stitz, who now is outside the top 10 and no bonus points for the 17.
Yeah, I mean, was running in 5th and now all the way out. It's going to put him behind Cedric Hunter, so it's going to put him down there in 12th position. Becker with an off moment. Tyler Thomas with a little bit of contact in the back of Ken Campbell there. Cedric Hunter nowhere to go. He has to back out of it, but it looks like Becker, I think, actually went around the outside of Ken Campbell through the double left-handers. Thomas gets to the inside, a little bit of contact made, but everybody keeps it straight. But just like that, Campbell loses 2 positions.
I mean, Campbell had to wheel that thing to keep that car straight, and this vehicle has not been the kindest to people to try to save. And Ben Campbell able to save the vehicle, didn't lose as much momentum as he could have, and still in the fight. As this group of 4, about to be 5, once Chris Stitz can catch back up. Seeing these drivers currently from their fastest lap to now, they've only ran 5 laps so far, about to conclude their 5th lap, and drivers are already feeling about a 1.5-second fall off on their tires. This is incredible fall off for this crew, as Ken Campbell right in the back bumper of the 11 can't get more front end damage, but that can be really detrimental to that engine for the 15. but we are now in 3 laps to go before this stage is done. Again, no full course yellow will be thrown for the stage break. The top 10 drivers are hunting for bonus points, and Ken Campbell is in a good spot to get those bonus points as the 10 of Jay Beckard having issues. We look back to Travis Dart, who's having his own little battle with Sam Siegel.
Yeah, Beckard wearing deep into turn number 1, but here's Travis Dart trying to hold on.
Oh, issue for the grouping ahead. It's the 10 of Jay Beckard and Tyler Thomas. Beckard gets sent into the outside wall as they try to go side by side up Eau Rouge, and it went terribly.
Looking back at it, called it. Just a little bit of contact going into the entrance of Eau Rouge sends the 10 to the left-hand side of the racetrack, hard into the tire barriers, and what was looking like a great race for Jay Beckard. And possible stage points. Going to take him out here tonight as he continues to fall through the field with that heavy nose damage.
Here's going to be the replay, and you see him side by side setting up. Tyler Thomas not giving space, just sends it right down, sending the 10, and that's been the issue, is whenever we see Jay Beckard having a good race, he gets caught up in an incident, and it strikes even here at Spa as the 10 trying to just limp his way forward back to 16th position, and now with the damage, it's not required damage, but that is terrible damage to have at such a aerodynamic dependent track like Spa is.
Yeah, it's gonna hurt him all night long. I mean, we thought Ken Campbell was struggling a little bit with the front end damage that he has from early on. That, I mean, for Jay Beckard, I mean, he's got no hood. I don't know if he's got any engine damage. I would assume how hard that car hit, he's probably down a little bit of horsepower in that machine. We'll have to wait and see, but definitely gonna be a struggle for him for the rest of this for the rest of the night.
Middle of the course, where these drivers are at right now, is probably the place that you can salvage speed because it's not that 100% throttle that you're working with. But Beckard's got to be careful and banking on some type of issues of drivers ahead to have similar incidences that's going to hurt them. See Will Bustler back in 18th place, all on his own. And for some drivers, that's a comfortable feeling to have. You're on your own. You don't have to worry about the pressure of a driver you're running down or a driver behind you. You can just run your own race. And if someone else finds themselves getting massive damage, they might be having to go into pit road and have their race done. Speaking of going into pit road, Dalton Alexander, pit road stop, as the dinging of pit road is going to be a constant, I think, here tonight once we hear pit stops of drivers entering in the 39. Well, this is an extremely early pit stop, not even thinking about stage points, as that Dalton Alexander is a fill-in driver. He's thinking about the win and thinking about strategy already.
Yeah, I mean, I was about to say it's a very interesting call, and then it dinged on me. Hey, he's, like you just mentioned, part-time driver, so why not come down and offset your strategy, go for an oddball strategy and see what happens. We were talking about it. This could potentially be a 2-stop race for these guys, even though it's a short race, only 30 laps. We're going 4.5 miles, and with the fuel miles that these cars get and the tire wear, a 2-stop might be the quickest way around here. So the undercut for Dalton Alexander, we'll have to see how it works turns out for him.
As the other drivers that have entered pit road, going to be Caleb Smith and Nick Holland. As we take a look at third place runner Cameron Sarn, a multi-time road course winner in the Full Send Racing Series, was one of the favorites whenever we went to a road course until Cole Sacchetti emerged as one of the heavy favorites. Zach Hall taking a couple of wins under his belt the last couple of seasons, and for Cameron, he was one of the top 3 drivers we knew to watch out for. Currently third, kind of having a quiet night, but a good night to have. Quiet is always a good feeling for yourself. Another driver having issues going up through Radion is going to be the 4 of Dave McConnell, as well as Christopher Melton. They just had major collisions, and for David McConnell, his race is done for the 4.
Yeah, not sure what happened to McConnell, but I mean, bad enough that he had left didn't even get back to pit road. Sam, I think, just left the session. The car might have been parked in a unfortunate area for himself, but the night over for the 4 machine of David McConnell is Wilson, and then tried to battle it out. But here's the replay to what happened to the 4.
It's going to be Christopher Melton in the 93. Get top of the hill, gets loose, and also spooks the 4. He overcorrects and right into the right side. Hard collision. Oh, completely takes out the engine. Melton's able to continue forward, but that of Volechka having to evade in a quick manner. And the 44 able to not get any more damage. And that was what called the 4 cars race. He is done. Caleb Smith, another driver who pulled into pit road early, following in the tire tracks of other drivers of Dalton Alexander. Well, going to be seeing the fact of the 98 pulling a race as well. We're on the stage break lap. Who is going to get inside of the top 10? Right now, Zach Hall's leading this race, and he's been the dominator. Christopher Norris in second has been gapping himself from Cameron Sarton and has actually been running pretty decent lap times comparatively to Zach Hall and trying to get some good bonus points. It's going to be the drivers of Chris Stitz, Brandon Colley, but Tyler Thomas, a surprisingly good night, even though with that contact the 11 had with the 10, trying to make sure he does not get caught by Jay Becker is the 11.
Yeah, just, after that little bit of contact, just kind of settled into this 8th position right behind Cedric Hunter and in front of Brandon Colley. And Colley, Sam, one of those guys that was up there battling with Brian McCann in the 8, and now all the way down here in 9th position, almost outside the top 10. You see him right there in the back of the shot in front of the 17 of Chris Stitz, so barely getting stage points for Colley, so I'm not sure if he had an issue somewhere. And then how about Chris Stitz? We saw him off in the tire, or off in the gravel at one point, and he's back up into the top 10 here, going to get at least one stage point.
Yeah, trying to grab everything you can as Ken Campbell. He made the passes to get himself in this great position, but now is in a tricky spot. We're going to be finding himself losing some more positions to the 11 if he sees an opening. But this group, I think the big thing is Chris Stitz was hurt with those penalties, with the yielding black flag. It's not a confirmed you're losing time, but you have to give up track position. You have to give up on letting off your throttle, give up time on the overall. And with being in this pack, I think a lot of drivers have been making that similar mistake, and that's why they're staying so grouped up, is that everyone, it seems like every other lap, someone is making that slip up of cutting the course and having to yield time.
That's what it feels like for these guys. You look up, they've pulled away from each other. You look back up, half a track later, they're all grouped up on one another, and it's just who's going to make the least amount of mistakes in this group that can finally kind of pull away from one another. Campbell under pressure from the 11 here of Tyler Thomas coming to the stage in. Can Thomas pick up that extra spot on the 15 machine to get himself an extra couple of stage points?
And update for some of the drivers that made pit stops. Driver with some massive front end damage. Dalton Alexander, who did the undercut, was trying to get a little bit trickery with being before everyone else. Well, it might have backfired as he was back with slower drivers. The 39, massive front end damage. He's going to have to worry about all race long. It's not required damage, but it's worse than even Ken Campbell's front end damage visibly. That's going to be a tough pill to swallow as the drivers finishing out this lap. Zach Hall going to get the stage win. Christopher Norris going to get second. Cameron Sarton third. And the rest of the running for the stage break goes to Cameron Sarton. Third. Fourth goes to Brian L. Wilson. Brian McCann going to grab fifth. Sixth goes to Cedric Hunter. Ken Campbell, 7th. 8th, Tyler Thomas. 9th goes to Brandon Colley and Chris Stitz. Your 10 drivers getting stage bonus points. Well, that's our first 8 laps in the book. It's been a good run so far. Lots of drama already spicing up. And what is the drama going to look like moving forward? We'll find out as we are going to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, we'll give you more of the GresimStudio Grand Prix 157 here at the Spa. Is the drivers have been having a good one. The Full Send Racing Series Race 8 is about to be done and dusted. It's going to be a quick one, but we'll be back right after this. wide behind for fifth.
Oh my, the 5 wide here, this ain't gonna work. They make it last, bumping and banging to the end. They're beating banging for the lead. Sora still with the shot here, coming off a 4. Look at me, that's it.
It's
Bottom line, here it comes. I know
no,
Carter gets wrecked. It's going to be that Nick Crawford. The 74 gets through somehow, and they just completely demolish one another. Trinity driving down low, drifting up, trying to be the stealer. Here he comes. Cedric Hunter. He does it. He steals it.
But he somehow drove it into the corner to wreck it.
Oh, they wrecked! They wrecked each other! The top two bounced into one another. Just too much of side drifting off of, and they gotta be careful. Oh no! The 4 demolishes in the 28. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Full Send Racing Series. The drivers are exiting pit road as most of the field has made their first stop of the night. 10 laps looks to be the distance that they're searching for, so look for around that of 10 to 9 laps to go for our next pit stop. Thanks for joining with us on Freaky Fast Broadcasting. Zach Hall, Christopher Norris still having the lead for themselves. Dalton Alexander, who went with the extreme undercut, up to 4th place. And oh no, our Daytona winner, Tony Brett, off course into the grass. And oh, he parked in front of the field. Oh no, Alex Jones has to be stopped. And that's for 21st and 22nd now, as Jones had to do a massive backup. And just like that, the 28 of Tony Brett T-boned and losing ground quickly after just making a stop.
Yeah, looks like got just in too deep into that final chicane, went through the grass, battling with the 45 of Alex Jones, and then those two come together at the end of that chicane there, and both of them had to back up and get going again, but time lost for both of those guys after their pit stop.
Time massively lost for themselves as these drivers going up Eau Rouge, up to Radeon, trying to just survive now as the 28 still dealing with the heat in the tires, and you can just tell the exit of these corners, the fast straightaways, the tires are not feeling comfortable. Other battles that are happening out on track. It's the battling currently for 9th, 10th, and 11th. Ken Gamble, Brandon Colley, and Tyler Thomas. And right now it's Ken Gamble and Colley trying to pull away from the 11 Texas Speed driver. Other drivers that have been running well up front has been Brian McCann, who under this pit cycle has been able to move up to 3rd place past Cameron Sarn, who went off into the grass, and Dalton Alexander, who under the undercut is dealing with 4-lap older tires than the rest of the field. Those older tires are hurting right now as the 24 is using every little bit of this fresh rubber to set up a pass.
And trying to get by this 39 car, and you can see the front end damage that Dalton's having to deal with. That happened right after his pit stop. I went back and looked at it under commercial break. Got into the back of the 1 of Will Bustler at one point on his outlap on fresh tires. So that's where that damage came from. And Sarton just hounding this 39, looking for any way about it. Going for a dive here into the final chicane. Almost makes it to the quarter panel, but has to back out of it as they go through the left-hander here. And going to try to set him up here down to turn number 1. But a great drive off the final corner for that 24 machine.
Dalton Alexander going to be setting up to force the 24 to make the pass on the long way around. On the outside, hard braking zone. They're both fighting for it. Dalton Alexander outbraking the 24, but the X of the corner give the advantage to Cameron Sarton, who just gets the better launch, extra grip out there on the outside, and assists the 24 to blast his way into 4th place and try to run down the 8 of Brian McCann. And for these drivers, they've got a lot of work if they want to try to catch up to Zach Hall. 14, almost 15 seconds from 3rd place up to the lead, as we've got 19 laps still to go. We've only ran 12 of our 30 here tonight. Stage break is done. Zach Hall won that stage, and right now, Trevor, it's looking like it's now everyone in a little bit of survival mode for themselves.
Yeah, I think now stage break is over. First round of pit stops is over. It's settle in and just kind of ride this thing out till the end and see if you can gain a little bit of time on one another. I mean, Brian Wilson's going to get up there and challenge Dalton Alexander. I would think that Cameron Sarton's going to get up there and challenge that of the 8 of Brian McCann. But, you know, get these battles that you can, or just kind of ride around, as we saw with drivers earlier on that were just kind of in no man's land, just continue to ride around it and hope that people fall victim to issues throughout the course of the night and gain a couple more spots.
If you're just joining us now, welcome to GresimStudio Prix 130. We've already lost one driver this evening, being Caleb Smith in the 98, who ran the first handful of laps and then called it a night for himself. He's right on board with the 9 machine of Brian L. Wilson. Qualified up in 4th place, has fallen down to 6th, but is keeping in touch with Dalton Alexander, hoping for a mistake, and those older tires really helping out the 9. As he's seen Dalton Alexander's old tires, it's a 4-lap difference, and let's hop on board with the 9 as we're onto the back stretch. And one of the faster aspects of this corner, this is the section of where the drivers from around lap turn 15 up to 18 are just using all the speed that's left in their vehicle.
Yeah, trying to use all that speed up. Here's a little bit of a kink into the back straightaway, where the drivers are going to have to try to keep it as fast as they can and watch that runoff. You see them both running wide, using every bit of that as they can. Here's the really good passing zone down here into the final hairpin, 19 and 20. You can see William Duff in the 77. He's got some massive front end damage on his car. He's going to cut through the grass there to try to get to pit road, as Wilson has a big move to the inside of the 39 of Dalton Alexander. A little bit of contact made on the exit, but Wilson's going to get that pass done.
Going to get the pass done and able to move now up in 5th place, and now setting up behind these drivers. It's the Hello Kitty machine of Cedric Hunter, who's trying to recover to continue moving forward. It's one of the top drivers that was not able to get a lap time in. Started in 21st position up to 7th. Biggest mover up 14 spots. Not a bad day for starting in the back half of the field and having to march his way forward, avoid some massive wrecks around. The 7 machine is in a comfortable position where he might be able to gain a couple of more positions before this race is done.
And very well could get up there and gain that spot on Dalton Alexander. Brian Wilson, he's got the speed. I mean, you don't... Yes, you get some spots by guys having issues, but I mean, we've seen Cedric driving up there, passing cars. Was back there with Tyler Thomas, Brandon Cawley, Ken Campbell, and Chris Stitz, and all those guys battling with them right before the stage break. And then after this round of pit stops, been able to really drive away from them and close in on these guys in front of him, like Dalton Alexander and Brian Wilson.
Incredible running for themselves. Other drivers have been having some pretty incredible runs so far tonight. Look back to 17th runner, Will Bustler, talked about how his rear end got taken off by Dalton Alexander, but hey, the 1 machine is just having his own quiet night. Again, he qualified in 25th position, part of the grouping of drivers that did not qualify, and is up 8 spots in 17th position, and he's got a crowd behind him trying to run down this one, but luckily for Will Bustler, he's running about a half second faster than Bert, Vlechka, and Brett.
Yeah, just kind of like who's that driver that we were talking about, Sam, just kind of in no man's land, just trying to do what he can here. But this is another group of drivers that have kind of been on top of one another throughout the course of the night. We saw Bert up there earlier on have his issues early on in this race where he kind of fell back a little bit. Vlechka here just having a nice, another little quiet run for himself, up 5 spots from where he qualified, trying to hold on to this machine as he's under pressure from the 28 of Tony Brent.
Tony Brent qualified up in 15th position. There's some decent speed under this 28 machine, but it was the mistake that caught up between the 28 and the 45 of Alex Jones that made him lose a lot of ground, and now trying to recover to fight to get back for a top 15 finish. Let's fall back to Joshua Altus. Altus has been one of the drivers that have been on fire, but it's been the timing of, I would say, pit road pit stops and as well cautions. It's allowed this 94 to really recover after poor qualifying runs. And once again, not able to get a qualifying time in with Joshua Altus. And he's just settling back and aiming for a top 25 finish is this 94.
Yeah, just kind of not known to be a road course racer. I know we know he has speed pretty much everywhere else we go, but here at the road course, especially here around the Spa, one of the tracks that we don't go to in the NASCAR series, and probably a track a lot of these guys don't have a lot of time on. Just out here trying to run the best that he can, up 6 spots at least from where he qualified. So having a good run for himself is Nick Holland down here in 22nd position. Had a spin early on, but has been able to recover back up here into 22nd.
Yeah, he's had a couple of other mistakes also bubble up for this 13 that forced him to grab even more front end damage. But currently, based off the lap times, could be competing for the drivers around 18th, 19th position if those drivers start to have bigger mistakes blossom up. And as the run continues on, the drivers making their first pit stops of the race. Curtis Walechka, one of those that's finally hitting pit road. Philip Chavez, you saw during qualifying, was hoping to get a time in and was not able to, as right now the 101 in survival mode has dealing with some rear end damage, but also having a great battle right now with Alex Jones behind for 20 in that 24th position. Just trying to survive is the ultimate key for these drivers. As we go back up front, Cameron Sarton was looking like the most confident driver, grab third. Well, he's fallen back to fourth, and has a pretty decent gap between third and fourth, where it's around 2 seconds, less than 2 seconds, is back from fourth to fifth as Brian L. Wilson is chipping away on trying to take this fourth place position.
Yeah, looking at the lap times, Wilson about five or half a second quicker than that of Cameron Sarton. That last time by, that 9 machine really starting to close in on the 2-time champ here on the back half of this racetrack right now. See if he can get up there and challenge for fourth, as Cameron's lost a little bit of time to Brian McCann, and Wilson having a really strong showing for himself here just inside the, or running here in fifth.
Certainly has. This is the 9 machine of Brian L. Wilson. This season's ran all 7 races, 1 top 5 that he grabbed back at the start of the season at Daytona. Had 2 other top 10 finishes at Michigan, Chicagoland. This road course race. We talked to Brian L. Wilson last season, his rookie season, at the start for the Clash when they were running at the LA Coliseum. Said he was a lot more comfortable at the road courses. He was hoping to get a lot more, knowledge at the oval side of things. And it's been a beautiful growth watching the 9 get faster each and every week, trying to get a lot more confident at the 1.5 mile or bigger tracks, trying to get quicker at the short tracks and a lot more consistent at avoiding the incidences. But tonight, showing the strength on why Wilson is a lot more confident in a road vehicle. And 6th place, Nolan Alexander, fill-in driver, dealing with damage, but still in the top 10. Got to give kudos for the undercut. It looks like it hasn't really given a huge neck gain. It's kind of still stayed with kind of equal to where he was going to be at if he even just stayed out. As he's has to figure out how to defend the fast-charging driver of the 7 of Cedric Hunter.
And trying to hold off Cedric Hunter. And I got to say, the lap times aren't too different from Dalton to Cedric Hunter, about that of 0.7 of a second. But you look at the difference in tires, about 3 laps, could essentially just kind of 4 laps by the time they enter and exit pit road. So not a huge fall off, but Alexander doing everything he can to hold off the 7 machine. But Cedric Hunter's now caught up to him, and so now it's a matter of time before the 7 can get by him.
Trying to figure out where do you set up the pass and just stay in line as they're setting up, going downhill into the double left-hander, trying to hit those apexes. And it's kind of amazing to see the field. Yes, the lap times are pretty different when you look at Zach Hall all the way down to let's say 28th position on Dave McConnell, who's dealing with the heavy damage. But it's still great. It's crazy to see these drivers all running pretty similar ways they're tackling this course. It's just how aggressive you're willing to be. That seems to be the major difference on how you can be one of the fastest drivers compared to those that are deeper in the field.
Yeah, I think it comes down to how aggressive are you going to be with those track limits that we've seen kind of bite people throughout the course of the night with those slowdowns. If you can time it right and hit the right parts of the track, you can gain a little bit of speed on your competitors, but you get it wrong, and we've seen guys have to give up a couple of positions and giving those slowdowns back. So it's a lot of give and take for these guys on how hard they want to push it. And
currently at this moment, Golden State and Clean is on a race control. Steve Benjamin, huge thanks for running race control for us throughout all of the season, giving these drivers black flag clears, informing on the penalties, and also giving us the information as we have crossed the halfway marker for the field. Zach Hall leading the way for the 32. Christopher Norris going to be second. And as the field is trying to prepare, Ryan Lynch issues for the 3, as once again it's Radeon, that corner number 4, striking again at hurting another driver.
That looks like a little bit of front end damage there. Could have gone into the tires like we've seen other drivers do, and just gotten lapped by Zach Hall as well for the 3 of Ryan Lynch. So kind of unfortunate for him is watching the 11 of Tyler Thomas trying to hold off the 99 of Brandon Colley. These two have been pretty much nose to tail with each other since that of about lap 8, right before the pit stops.
And trying to figure out who's going to be the faster driver here, or will they just continue to play this flip-flop game? As Colley's been ahead at moments, and then it's Tyler Thomas taking the position back. And as well, Chris Stitz moving up to 8th place, 17. Recovery run for himself, but for how long? As the 11's trying to put the pressure to figure out how to get by the 17.
Yeah, Stitz just had a moment, was off in the grass there for a split second, got loose, had to get back into it. So lost a lot of time that he had over the 11 and the 99, so he backs up into this picture. And if these 3 get to battle and even more, I mean, Ken Campbell's just quietly lurking back there in the 11th place in that 15 machine. And this is that group that, again, right before pit stops was all nose to tail, and even after pit stops, here they are again, just battling it out, just showing you how close their lap times are, even 15, or even with 15 to go.
So we're looking back off the front, back lid of the 17, and Chris Stitz at this great battle. I mean, Trevor, you've raced in many different leagues and many different vehicles, road courses. It certainly is a pressure builder when you've got drivers that you just can never get away from, and everyone's running so consistently, and you have the pressure like this, where you've got 3 drivers just cannot get away from one another. Instead, touching the dirt, that is a dangerous place to find yourself.
Oh yeah, in the dirt, that's never a spot where you want to get these slick tires. Hate dirt, hate gravel, not advantageous for grip at all. It's to hold it on, but yeah, having that pressure out behind you, it's tough. You're concentrating on, corner entry, braking, making sure you're in the right braking zone, downshifting through the gears, watching the mirror to make sure the guy behind you doesn't lock up and maybe puts you offline. You got to worry about corner exit. And, I mean, it's a lot that you have to deal with each and every corner, and a lot of pressure there from the 11 of Tyler Thomas. Gets right to the rear bumper of Stitz and Brandon Colley right there, as well as this group of 3 still nose to tails ahead in start number 1.
It's going to go with the defensive outside positioning, trying to break a little bit of that draft that the 11 was searching for, instead going a much wider sweeping corner. Tyler Thomas, because he went so shallow, the rear end just not gripping up and really sliding his way as he gasses up to speed, getting through the gears. Brandon Colley, Willie risks going side by side. He just saw earlier in the race, Jay Becker, Tyler Thomas did not have a safe way through the uphill side by side. Thinks otherwise. And now set up down the Kemmel stretch, the fastest point of the racetrack. You're hitting your top speed for drivers. They are maxing out at almost 175 miles per hour before they have to slam on the brakes and get ready for corners number 5, 6, and 7.
Yeah, it's a big draft zone down that back straightaway. You can get a lot of time gain on the cars in front of you, but then a big braking zone trying to get that car slowed down from 170 all the way down to about 80 miles an hour to set you up for this next little bit of corners. And Stitz, a little bit of breathing room since that mistake from the 11 of Tyler Thomas on board with Brandon Colley as he closes in. A little bit of a mistake there from the 11 allows the 99 to get to the rear bumper, but just nowhere for Colley to really go, as he's going to have to continue to follow Tyler through this left-hander and into the double apex left-handers up in the next section.
Pressure is on these drivers, certainly having to deal with a lot, as you can see just the difference on braking zones. Some drivers really want to slow up to set up to carry better momentum through this double left-hander, and Tyler Thomas just surviving for now as Brandon Colley trying to move forward, doesn't want to just settle for 10th, wants a chance to grab that 8th place position, and if they really get cruising, might have a chance to try to run down Dylan Alexander. But when you've got 3 drivers not giving each other any breathing room, it's hard to really focus on putting down fast laps. It's more of just each corner, how do I defend? How do I get out of the exit of the corner well? And it's slowing you down compared to the rest of the field in front.
It's definitely slowing them down, and it's all about that defense. How am I going to defend? How am I going to get the better drive off? How do I slow down the guy behind me? and hopefully he gets to battling with the car behind him so I can drive away. And Stitt's trying to figure all that out as he tries to hold off that of Tyler Thomas, Brandon Colley, Kim Campbell. But Campbell's lost this group by a little bit, almost 2 seconds that he's lost to the 99 of Colley. Colley going to look to the outside, maybe set him up, a little bit of contact, and there goes the 11.
Tyler Thomas spun around. Ken Campbell going to be taking that advantage of the 11, going around for himself. And just like that, he goes from a group of 3 now down to a little bit of spacing and breathing room as Thomas, not a fan of being spun around, but he is going to have to try to figure out how to settle back in, and maybe has to go with that undercut as we take another look at this incident.
I don't know. I don't think he got spun around, Sam. I think he just got into that final that chicane too deep. A lot of rear braking. It spun it out to keep from clearing out the 17 of Stitz, and Colley just a little bit of a tap kind of finished him off there. But I got to say, heads up move from Tyler Thomas to not just go in there clean out Chris Stitz, because I think he missed that braking zone.
Yeah, I mean, it's so easy to do, though. If you think about how fast you're flying through these corners, these brakes are not a fan of trying to slow down immediately. And even Tyler Thomas now with that slide, the extra heat built up in the tires, it's not loving each and every corner we're touching at this moment, as the 11 is just trying to limp his way at this point. Just a couple of more laps you have to survive before pit road is going to be calling your name for the final time here tonight. And then you can take it to the end of this race, where these drivers have been trying to hold on steady as John Dart and others continue to race on. It gives us time to, because there's really a little bit of quiet for us to talk. We wanted to give a huge shout out to the amazing sponsors here for the Full Send Racing Series, as they've helped out the last couple of seasons. For some of these sponsors, others just hopping board this season, and they are all so helpful. Starting things off with ButtKicker. Feel what you've been missing. Go over to ButtKicker to grab your Gamer 2. Instead of just hearing sounds, why not feel the sounds? As these drivers have been feeling the pressure, why not feel the rumbles of the rumble strips, the sliding of the tires that get you more immersed into your racing action. And once you get yourself your ButtKicker, you need to attach it to a racing rig to fully be immersed. And why not level up your racing with Next Level Racing? Racing rigs on a budget, or if you're looking for the most expensive, they've got you covered in a wide range of great comfort and affordability for yourself. Go to Next Level Racing today. And for drivers, if you want to help out with, maybe you need to change your tires, fuel, or if you're a race admin, a button box is the best way to elevate yourself on being quick and efficient. So go over to GresimStudios now on Etsy, or check out on Facebook or Instagram. So go check out how you can grab your button box today from GresimStudios, who also is the title sponsor of today's race, the GresimStudios Grand Prix 130. And finally, once you are set up for iRacing, maybe you want to listen about how the racing action is going on in real life. Well, that's when you go over to On the Throttle podcast, weekly uploads about the top racing around the world, hearing from Billy Duff as well as Trey Jackson. Currently, their most recent episode is episode 69, uploaded yesterday, talking about the racing action that just went down this last weekend. Go listen and listen to their great conversation on how racing is happening outside the Full Send Racing Series. Well, Trevor, currently drivers are thinking about pit stops. Could it be now? Could it be in the next 2 to 3 laps? When are you thinking about it if you're these drivers up front?
Yeah, Dalton Alexander already hit his pit stop. He's was the first car that we saw take a pit stop at the first part of the race. Now going to be the first car down pit road on the second half. Going to go for that undercut again. Tony Brent on pit road as well in the 28 machine. So pit stop starting. I think for our leaders, you'll see them on pit road at about lap 20. Who's going to be brave enough to go for an undercut? How well will it work out for him? As you can see here, the 39 of Dalton Alexander already on and off pit road, trying to get back up through the field as he's right ahead of the 26 of Travis Dart.
Trying to go through the field and hoping he doesn't make the same mistake he did under that first pit stop, where in those first couple of laps, he ran into a driver, and oh, it's Jay Beckard into the dirt for the 10 machine right in front of Dalton Alexander. It was almost another issue striking for himself as the 10 able to get rolling once again for himself. And Jay Beckard has just gone from bad to worse after his contact with Tyler Thomas earlier in the race. No hood, but at least still able to continue to just go charge forward and putter his way to right now still in 15.
I'm about to say, even with all that damage he's had, still has pretty good pace up there in 15th position. You see Christopher Norris on pit road, so he's going to come in a lap earlier than anticipated. Try to see if he can undercut Zach Hall and maybe gain a little bit of time on that 32 machine. And here comes Brian McCain and the 8 machine also down pit road.
I like this call, going with the undercut. Like you noted on earlier with Dalton Alexander, yes, he was being passed, but he had some decent pace. If you're only a lap or two off, I think you're not at a terrible spot. When you look at tire wear, that drop off, yes, it's dramatic, but it's dramatic as groupings. And we'll see how this undercut's going to work out. Will Zach Hall come to pit road this go around or the next, allowing Christopher Norris to close in on the gap? Will the 32 just decide, I'm just going to run my own race, hit the points when I'm expecting to hit pit road, which could be this lap or the next? Looks to be the window for the 32.
Yeah, I think probably we'll see Zach in this lap. Got a little bit of lap traffic ahead of him, so why not come down pit road, get those 4 fresh tires, get some clean air. That way you're not getting held up by this lap traffic, giving those guys who have done the undercut a little bit more of an advantage on you. So expect to see that 32 machine down pit road this time by Jay Becker down pit road. Brandon Cawley, Travis Dart also on pit road as well to get their final pit stops out of the way for themselves, as we'll wait and see here as we follow Zach Hall to see if he comes down pit road this time by.
Still has about a half a course still to go for this 32. A lap around here at Spa, 2.5 minutes in length. I mean, in time per lap. It's a long lap. You're constantly focusing on your braking zones because one mistake can be fatal for your race to be done. Like what we saw, we lost the 77 of William Duff. We lost Halo Smith. We almost lost that of Dave McConnell, who spent time at pit road. Is only 3 laps down for the 4. Incredible to see the amount of damage he grabbed, but still able to continue racing. And I think that has been the biggest talking point, I think, of the night. 1, Zach's dominant, and 2, the damage the drivers are taking, but yet still running pretty well.
Yeah, I mean, you think about it. Ken Campbell's had front-end damage all night long. Jay Becker with the front-end damage. William Duff, we saw he unfortunately had to retire, but David McConnell's had damage. Alex Jones had contact with the 28 of Tony Brent. So, I mean, we've seen cars get damage and be able to just carry on at a pretty good pace. Zach Hall getting through some lap traffic, going to stay out for another lap, though, as he puts a lap on Alex Jones in the 45. Not sure if he was trying to get to pit road right there, Sam, or just kind of caught the 45 at a bad time for himself.
Sounded like he actually did want to come into pit road that time, so this is going to be a little bit more dramatic to watch out. As speaking of the flare, losing the rear end, the tires maybe a little bit more worn, as this is the longest run Zach has ran all night long. Previously, he went into pit road on lap 10. He's now extra lap pressuring. Is the fuel there for Zach Hall? It should. We saw some other drivers going around 13 to 12 extra, going 13 to 12 laps before pitting. But is it the right strategy? Because Christopher Norris is already by that Brian L. Wilson. He's got clean air to work with. And the 38 is charging his way and hoping to grab the lead once this pit stop cycle is done. Well, to find out, where are the drivers lined up for this race, as we will take our final commercial break of the evening. Where will the drivers be? How will this race end? We'll give you all the answers when we come back for tonight's race. You're watching the Full Set Racing Series. It's the GresimStudio Grand Prix 130. Zach Hall leaves pit road for himself here very quickly, and he's hoping it's going to be a good one. We'll be back right after this.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Basket can't defend. He's got the outside line for the second part, and he can't hold on.
Going the long way around. We're going to be 3 wide for the lead as they all come to the line. Who is going to take it in the end?
And here comes Lockwood. He's going to make the move to the outside. Quinn tries to force him off a little bit, but there he goes. It's going to be side by side through turn 1.
Will he be able to cover him off? He does. Weaving back to the left-hand side. Reynolds is trying everything. The kitchen sink is being thrown at it.
They're leaning on each other. Coming into turn number 3. It's going to be a drag race through 3 and 4. Coming back to the line. Here comes Frisch on the bottom. Bouchard's going to hold the inside. Tries to be the late breaker here. They're going to be side by side through the final chicane. They bang doors, but keep it clean.
As they're still 4 wide on the run down into the back straightaway. Demerit's looking for a line as well. What is going on in Michigan?
Novak into the fence. They're still beating and banging.
Oh my
and to the line.
He is much faster coming through there. Is there damage on Challenger? Abramitis is ahead. There's going to be a race to the line. Who is going to get it?
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Full Send Racing Series. It's race number 8 of the regular season, and it is the GresimStudio Grand Prix 130 at Spa, the first road course of the season, and it is drama time. 9 laps to go. Zach Hall staying out maybe a lap or later than he wanted, and the gap has ballooned. Christopher Norris, who's been running in second all night long, has taken the lead. It's 3.2 seconds currently, and Zach Hall has to run Norris down, and he's got 8 laps to do it. Trevor, it's been a good one so far. We've been watching the absolute incredible battling from 4th all the way back to around 11th all night long, as that group's been giving us all the drama. But now for the lead, we haven't talked about the lead really all night long.
Have not talked about a battle for the lead at all tonight, but here it is, and the question is, Zach Hall's been up front all night long, had that clean air, been able to run his own pace. Can he run down this 38 machine, his teammate, without making any mistakes? That's going to be the key for this 32, and it was that battle with lap traffic, where it was Zach trying to get through that lap traffic that cost him a lot of time, had to stay out 1 extra lap that allowed that undercut from Christopher Norris to get by, but already Zach was at 3.2 seconds, now down to 2.4 seconds as they head up down the Camel Straight.
And Zach is working these tires. There is no care anymore. He stayed at a lap extra so he can just be slightly more aggressive on every little bit of a corner that he feels like can extend. And right now, Christopher Norris, Zach Hall, about a second has already been lost in just about a lap that Zach has been out there on track. It's incredible to see the difference of Zach Hall and Christopher Norris. Norris has been a lot more on the consistent, I'm going to run my own pace, and sometimes he's faster than Zach Hall. Other times, Zach has been the faster driver when you look at the long run. But in those later laps, Christopher Norris at times was running faster than Zach Hall and actually closed in the gap. I'm curious, by the time that Zach gets to the back bumper of this 38, will the swinging of that pendulum react where Christopher Norris will be able to pull away?
It's going to be the question. I mean, I'm going to be interested to find out that answer, Sam. Who knows? I mean, he's got to get there first. 2.3 the gap. I mean, he's closing in on Norris, and all it takes, though, is one little mistake from Christopher Norris that'll put the 32 right there. Maybe a mistake from Zach Hall could widen that gap back out. 8 laps to go, 4.35 miles each lap. I mean, plenty of opportunities for each of these drivers to make a mistake. This battle for the lead is going to tighten up.
It's going to tighten up, and other battles on track as well are starting to tighten up. The battle for 6th place is underway. Dalton Alexander, who went for another incredible undercut here tonight, hoping those tires can survive all the way to the end. He's got to defend over Brian L. Wilson, who's been looking fabulous tonight. The 9's been hoping to grab a top 5 finish. It looks like 6th might be the best one here this evening, as Cedric Hunter has already made the pass for 5th and trying to set up the pass for 4th. But can Dalton Alexander, with the tires that are going to be fading quicker than the 9 machine, can he hold off this 30? Can he hold off the 9, who's just been so quick here on the later runs?
Got to look a little bit loose there from Dalton Alexander as they head off into the back, the 3rd sector of the racetrack. Wilson all over the rear bumper of Dalton Alexander. I got to give Alexander credit. I mean, he's tried the oddball strategy, the massive undercuts, and it's worked out for him. Even on those older tires, been able to hold off drivers to see what and stay within the top 10. But I don't think he's got anything for this 9 machine of Brian Wilson, who's hounding him going into the final chicane.
Right now, trying to pick and choose Where do you make this pass? Will it even be made in time? Just keeping my eye out also for the lead. The gap is down to less than a second and a half. Zach Hall looking like he will be able to make the pass here in the next 2 to 3 laps, if not even this lap, if he can get a better run. In some of the corners, as the question starts to loom for Christopher Norris, is he feeling the pressure as this 38 has been spending all week trying to learn from Zach Hall? Zach has been the master, the fastest driver of this race course. But can the 38, who's been learning, training, and now has to be the defender, can you hold off the 32, the last season's champion, and one of the fastest drivers at the road course whenever we go to one?
Norris is going to have his hands full. Thankfully, these two are teammates, so if they do get to racing with one another, you would think that the racing will be clean, but who knows? For a race win, I mean, it'd be Norris's first win of the season. It'd be Zach's second win of the season, so maybe Norris gets the elbows out, as they say in Formula One, Sam, and tries to defend this 32. The gap about a second as that 32 keeps inching his way closer to the 38 of Christopher Norris.
Well, I know we got race control up and watching the racing action, but the penalties system isn't as aggressive or strict like the FIA for F1. So if Christopher Norris wants, he can put the heavy blocks, and they've got 13 and a half seconds really to work with, as Brian McCann is not far back. So if they get to that hard, aggressive racing, some massive blocks, maybe they do rub some fenders. This is not over for themselves, and Brian McCann is crossing his fingers, hoping the teammates will just throw away a 1-2 finish that they are hoping to grab. And lap traffic, will it become a bigger factor as they're closing in on Dave McConnell? Will the 4 just get out of the way as we're closing in on the last chicane? I think the 4 is just going to get moved to the side once he sees Christopher Norris and Zach Hall close in. But Zach, a much cleaner run in the entry and the exit. It's now less than a second between first and second.
Had a really good dive there into that last chicane. Got in a little deep, though. Cost him a little bit on corner exit. But it's been right here through turn number 1 that he gets a lot better drive off than Christopher Norris. You can see that gap close down again. Gains about 2/10 there on Norris as they accelerate, heading up into Rouge and Radeon.
Going to be flying up through this corner. Christopher Norris trying to make sure he stays in between those red lines, and I think he might have went a little bit over, half looking, and Norris does get a slowdown penalty. He just makes the slight mistake. He's gonna have to back off, as well as trying to get past the lap car, and that's the mistake Zach Hall was looking for. Now Norris is just trying to slowly each and every corner give a little bit of space, a little bit of time, but he's gonna have to lose the lead. Zach gives the bump. I don't know if he knows that there's a slowdown penalty, as Norris defends aggressively. Again, another tap to the back bumper, putting the pressure on Zach to the inside and for the lead, as Norris backs off and has to relent the lead because of the slowdown.
And just that one little mistake, we talked about it, such a long lap around here, and just doing it that early on at one of the fastest parts of the track, that's probably the worst spot you could get that slowdown penalty. And Norris did everything in his power to serve that and keep the 32 machine behind him, and you can see the contact being made, but inevitably had to give that spot up to Zach Hall. And now that he's by him, Sam, I don't know if that 38 is going to be able to mount a charge back on his teammate.
2 lap older tires. Zach was already running about a second faster than Christopher Norris, and it looked inevitable that it was going to happen. Of the 32, this has been his run, his race in looking to become a 2-time winner this season, as Zach Hall won back at Iowa, and then he has been searching for his second win. And tonight looks to be destiny calling, as Zach Hall, the next driver in line that they're going to have lap traffic with, is going to be, I believe, the 21st position of Curtis Valechka, and also Nick Holland are going to be the next 2 drivers to worry about. Well, they are pretty gapped ahead of these drivers. I don't think lap traffic should be a factor, as we've got 6, soon to be 5 laps to go here tonight.
No, I think lap traffic is going to be a non-factor for these guys. It's going to be, if Zach Hall makes a mistake like we saw Christopher Norris, but Sam, it's been 25 laps. I don't think I've seen the 32 have an issue all night long, and would be pretty surprised to see him get one of those slowdown penalties that would cost him that much time. Norris not giving up too much here. He closed in about 0.2 of a second right there in that final chicane. That's been kind of his stronger point over this 32 of Zach Hall. And down here in the turn number 1, see if he can gain a little bit more time. He clips the inside wall.
And just locking up the brakes, Christopher Norris slams into the wall. He was trying to grab some advantage, and it's thrown away for himself. Other drivers throwing away positions. Dalton Alexander going off track has lost now 2 positions because of the off track. It's down to 9th place, even a spot to Brandon Colley, but that's great for Christopher Norris as well as Zach Olive in a slip and slide. I mean, this fight may not be over just because of how hard Zach had to fight. And speaking of fight, here's the fight for 8th place. Colley trying to keep that rear end underneath them. Same for Dalton Alexander.
Yeah, Colley really slow through that last chicane there, and that allowed Dalton Alexander to get to the rear bumper. But the 2-lap difference in tires there allows the 99 to get a better drive off. And again, out of turn number 1, the traction zone is going to be into the favor of the 99 of Brandon Colley. He's able to pull away from Dalton Alexander as they head up into a Rouge.
Trying to see the fastest corners. We've seen mistakes. Drivers going just slightly off course to the left, and you can lose time with the slowdown penalty. It looks like Brandon Colley, he'll just gave away as he almost was given a slowdown penalty, able to keep himself full throttle and trying to run down, if possible, to the likes of Chris Stitz. But that's going to be some work. That's over 3.5 seconds gap there. Other drivers that are battling between one another. Christopher Norris has found a little bit of extra speed. He's cut the gap down to half a second and is right there on the back bumper. This race is not over yet with 5 laps to go.
Closed it down to half a second, was up to 1 second. And the question here, did Norris, was he saving a little bit of tire? I mean, it's something we haven't touched on a lot at road courses. In the Xfinity cars and in the trucks, tire wear is really big here on road courses compared to the next gen cars where drivers don't take tires. And Zach kind of pushed to catch up to the 38. Did he burn up his tires? And was Norris just maybe saving a little something here for the end of the race?
At moments in a later run was the faster driver. So with the 38, she, like I said, saving his tires and as well just naturally stronger on the long run. Right on the back bumper, this is where Zach was having the bigger gain through that last chicane. Up through the gears, back on the throttle, and Christopher Norris with the better launch with the draft. Got to have a good exit here out of turn 1 to set up the climb up through El Rouge to Radion. Here we go, staying off that inside wall. It's a smart decision by the 38 as he's going to keep it right on the back bumper. Hope to get some draft. He's trying to do a simple cut, but he's staying away from utilizing the draft. Instead, trying to cut the course. And I don't know, though. Those are the 2 difficult calls he has to make. It's Christopher Norris up through Radion, keeps himself in between the rumble strips, and he's looking quick and has the draft now down the Camel stretch.
Looking pretty good there through the Rouge and Radion, now down the Camel straight, closing in, using that draft hard braking zone down here into the right, the left-hander as he closes in on Zach Hall. Not close enough to make a dive, but just letting Zach know, hey, I'm still here, I'm not going away. They head through this complex, and Norris again continues to chase, not giving up a lot of time, looking really quick in that 38 machine.
And with how aggressive this battling for the lead has been, they have ballooned out the gap between first to third place of Brian McCann. It was about 13 seconds. It's now almost 16 seconds as McCann has no one to worry about. The next closest driver is Cameron Sarton, 11.5 seconds back from the 8 machine. Sarton's got to worry about maybe Cedric Hunter as they've been running equal lap times between 4th and 5th place. And then in 6th place, Brian L. Wilson doesn't have anyone to worry about. I think the rest of the field, really, it's only the battle for the lead. That's the closest one on track currently.
Yeah, I mean, you think back, Sam, over the course of the race, we were talking about battles from 4th pretty much all the way down to 15th. Didn't talk about a battle for the lead, but now these last 7 laps or so, here it is. The battle for the lead's been the closest battle has been the closest battle for the second half of this race. And Norris, again, they're pressuring this 32 of Zach Hall, and you got to wonder, I mean, this is the first time Zach's been under pressure all race long. Is it going to get to this 32 machine?
And as we're closing in to 3 laps to go, there is another lap car to worry about. Nick Holland in the 13, who's been struggling in the early portions of this race, just has been in survival mode. He's hoping he can at least stay close to our top, stay in front of our leaders, but he's not looking like he's got the pace to do so. It might be this lap, could be the next. When we start to see Christopher Norris, Zach Hall, how do you venture around the 13 machine as Christopher Norris still keeping a close distance to our leader? And I think it really is going to come down these first couple of corners on setting up that turn into turn 5 on if Norris can keep himself close enough to make a dive bomb move.
Yeah, he's got to set himself up out of 1, up through a Rouge and Radion and down the Camel straight to really be able to get close enough to make a dive here on Zach Hall. And the question is, if he's close enough this lap, do you do it this lap, or do you try to bank on being close enough to try it on the last lap? That's going to be the question for Norris on what he wanted to do. But, I mean, look right here, Sam, really close. Zach with a little bit of bobble over the curb as that 38 continues to get the draft off his teammate, closing in down the Camel Straight.
Trying to close in, but Zach is also getting the toe from Nick Holland, so it's not a big enough gap to really close in the gap for Norris. Is going to have to wait until there is no draft assistance in front of the 32 if he's going to have a chance to make this pass, which is going to force him as Zach goes a little bit wide. Norris goes low, shallow entry, trying to force the mistake by Zach Hall. Slip in the rear end, and still they keep it. Nose to tail with the lap car in front of him.
And this is going to get interesting. Where is Nick Holland going to go to get out of the way? This is kind of a really tight complex for them to catch lap traffic, and this is going to hold up the 32 just a little bit and allow Norris to close back in. Holland's going to dive it to the left-hand side of the racetrack, get on the brakes, let them both go by as this battle continues. Really great move there from Nick to get out of the way as Zach goes a little bit wide here through the double left-hander, trying to get better momentum on the exit, but Norris right there on his rear bumper.
Norris deciding to see he's just going to back off. He was really right in the back corner. Decided to go with a slow entry, fast exit, and it's working for the 38's advantage as we're going through these last couple of curves before we hit the back stretch, the last kink before they set it into the chicane. And Christopher Norris just getting maybe a little bit too giddy now. Those rear tires are flaring up as he's trying to gas it up, trying to keep with the same momentum as Zach Hall as we got 3 laps to go, soon to be 2 laps to go. And 38 might have found his first opportunity, but he's not utilizing the draft. He's thinking about the corner ahead every single time, trying to make sure he can hit the apex point. He's not giving up time with a simple mistake going off course. Instead, he's forcing Zach to go with the oddball entry and exits, and here's the first opportunity to the inside, outside, tap to the rear end of Zach, but locks up the brakes. Norris, Zach spun! Zach self-spun! Norris takes the lead!
There it is, the pressure from Christopher Norris. Looked to the inside, backed out of it, went back to the racing line. Zach got in too deep, locks it up, spins out, and Norris now to the lead, 2 laps to go. Sam, 3.5 second gap back to the 32, and just like that, if Norris doesn't make a mistake, this should be his race.
Christopher Norris, this is the move. This is the play. Inside, outside. Zach knows that Christopher Norris may be locking up. He's trying to predict. Instead, he outbrakes himself, spins around. Christopher Norris gets the last laugh as he pulls away to over a 3.5 second gap lead, and it continues to grow. And Zach, who dominated this race, and just staying out that extra lap, Trevor, that pressure might have been what cost Zach the win.
It very well could have been, and I mean, what a change of events here that we saw. I mean, we thought once Zach got by Christopher Norris that it was going to be done and dusted. He was going to drive off into the sunset, collect his second win of the season, but Norris able to keep close and get that gap back down, and then force the mistake out of the 32, who's looked just untouchable all night long. And now here Norris is about halfway through this lap, Sam, coming almost to the white flag. He's just got to keep it calm, cool, and collected. He's got now a 4-second lead over Zach Hall.
I mean, all the pressure's on Zach. Zach has not been in this spot at all. I talked about Christopher Norris, those late runs. He's had a couple of laps where he was faster than Zach, and Zach just has been losing touch. He burnt the tires off trying to run down this 38, and once again, a simple mistake and maybe some gamemanship. Norris has been known for out-braking himself and locking up the brakes in when it comes down to these critical moments. And maybe that got in the head of Zach Hall that he was going to get ran over by the 38.
It very well could have. I mean, you hear in the car, in the sim, you can hear when other drivers around you are locking up. And so maybe Zach heard a lockup from the 38 going into that final chicane, went in a little bit deeper, anticipating that he would need to avoid getting run over, and then realized that he was just in too deep for himself. A little bit too much rear brake, spins himself out, and Norris able to just kind of pull the dummy on him and get that position and force that mistake out of it.
Christopher Norris, the gap is up to 5 seconds now. It continues to grow. Last season was a fill-in driver. This season, through the last chicane, hitting the front stretch, the 38, seeing what he wants to see, doesn't have to worry about any more pressure. Just run a clean lap. It's your next level racing. White flag for the 38 of Christopher Norris.
19 corners, 4.35 miles to go for Christopher Norris to get his first win of the season through turn number 1. Now just got to get up through Eau Rouge, ready on down the Camel Straight. Can't cut Eau Rouge here, Sam. We saw him do it earlier with that battle for Zach Hall. Needs to keep it nice and tidy up here to avoid a slowdown penalty. No pressure. 5.6 seconds to Zach Hall as he heads up Eau Rouge.
Up through Eau Rouge, down to the Camel Straight. And this 38 machine got past his overcoming. We thought that because he got that slowdown yield penalty, that maybe his chances of winning tonight was done and dusted. He fought back, had the mental fortitude. At most of this race, he was 3 to 5 seconds off of Zach Hall, but he was down to that final pit stop, the undercut, giving the Christopher Norris the lead by 3 seconds, forcing Zach Hall's hand to outrun himself. And it did late. With 3 coming to 2 laps to go, Zach Hall spins out, and Christopher Norris has a half a track to go before he is a full send Racing Series winner.
I mean, what a turn of events tonight has taken. Zach Hall from the dropping the green flag, dominant car, battles throughout, 4th on back, didn't even think about the lead. The final pit stops come down, a little bit of, strategy call from the 38. All of a sudden, we have a battle for the lead, a mistake. And here's Christopher Norris, Sam, coming to the last part, Sector 3 of this racetrack to collect what could be his first win if he gets through here mistake-free.
I mean, Christopher Norris has been trying to stay consistent and out of trouble the best that he could. And now for himself, it's just an easy run down. The gap is now over 5.5 seconds for this driver, and he has been fighting and clawing to find consistency in every vehicle that he runs. His best finish so far was 3rd place at Michigan this season, and now full bore. He's only got just a couple of more corners to go before the 38 gets to taste victory in the Full Send Racing Series Season 5, race number 8. And Christopher Norris learned lessons from Zach Hall throughout the week on how to get faster. He qualified up front, got 3rd place. He got to watch how Zach entered the first corner and then watched him all race long. And in front of him, he saw Zach spin out. And now, Christopher Norris is a winner in the Full Send Racing Series and locked into the playoffs. This driver has found his groove. He is really shining now. From where we've seen Christopher Norris in the past, Trevor, to now, what an evolution of a driver.
I mean, you nailed it right on the head. What a grow up it's been for Norris. I mean, we've seen him in other leagues, same when he first started at the back of the field causing incidents, and now the growth, the evolution, the change of scenery that he had from one team to another, that's really helped him grow and get to this point. Here he is as a winner, and what a drive it was here tonight at Spa.
I mean, I don't have the official record books on it, but I believe Christopher Norris, he just dumped it. He didn't care. He put it in the wall. He already crossed the line. It's now just to have fun out there on track. But I believe Christopher Norris is going to be one of the youngest drivers in Full Send Racing history books to win. He's the youngest driver in this series. And it was funny when Christopher Norris joined, it was a talking point and a joke of, well, we got all the adults, and then we also have Christopher Norris running in the league, and the kid gets it done. Congratulations to Christopher Norris, who is going to beat his teammate Zach Hall, and Brian McCann gets 3rd. Cameron Sartin going to get 4th, and Cedric Hunter started back in 21st position. He will find himself being the driver into our top 5 biggest mover of the day. Goes to the 7 machine. Wow, what a run. Congratulations to Christopher Norris. And for us of the booth, we're going to step away, enjoy the pacing as the 38 gets to enjoy this victory. And when we come back, we're going to have the post-race show talking to the 38, the 32, the 8, and a spotlight driver right after this. what a race that came down to drama. We thought it was in the hands of Zach Hall, but pitch strategies changed things up. Instead, it's Christopher Norris that finds himself in a victory lane for the GresimStudio Grand Prix 130. Let's talk to the excitement. And one of the few drivers that maybe you thought was going to win at the start of the season. Instead, it takes him 8 races, full-time now for Season 5, and Christopher Norris, one of the youngest drivers to win in this series. Chris, you, sir, are a Full Send Racing Series winner. Man, how are you feeling after this one?
All I can say is, how did that happen, man? I didn't know I wasn't able to get it done, but it just took a lot of pressure and a lot of I don't even know what to say. I'm speechless.
I mean, Norris, Zach gets back by you there with about 7 laps to go, and kind of pulls it out to a 1 second gap, and we look back up, and you've got it down to 5, or got it down to about a half a second. I mean, what was going through your mind once he got by you, and when you caught back up to him? I mean, what was just the thought process and all that?
It's honestly, he's my teammate. I can't wreck him, and I wouldn't say I would do that to anyone else. I just know I need to put the pressure on. I needed to be there to make the move if the move was there. Unfortunately, he got screwed over to some lap cars early and couldn't follow my undercut. And so he had to pit 2 laps after instead of 1 lap after. So once I knew I got that lead, and unfortunately I did get a slowdown, which I had to try to move off his nose, which I'm forever grateful that he didn't spin me for that, even though in my opinion that's a normal move in iRacing. But yeah, I just knew as soon as he got back by, I need to put the pressure on and do it as best as I can.
I mean, Chris, you get the win. When you started this season off, and even when you think about last season when you were the fill-in driver, when you were racing with this field, what was your confidence level? Did you feel like a win was even possible before coming into tonight?
Not really. I knew compared to the Trucks last season, I had a pretty good chance of top 10s here averagely. But lesson learned, the Trucks are a lot different than the Xfinity cars, so a little bit of a learning curve, but fortunately able to come back and get some things I could learn.
Well, Norris, congratulations on getting this win, and before we let you go, the floor is now yours.
Of course, I have to shout out my teammates, Zachary Hall, Andrew Medlin, unfortunately was not here tonight, and Ken Campbell. Thank you, Zach, for teaching me. He luckily taught me well enough to be able to get by him and race him cleanly, and I appreciate him racing me cleanly as well, so we could have that epic battle towards the end. Shout out to my family, my mom and dad watching. I'm glad they could finally see me get a win. You guys for the amazing job you guys do, and then of course the league admins for putting on the amazing show, and also Lids, customlids.com. Get yourself a custom hat, like I will probably after this race.
Well, Norris, we said it after you crossed the line. It has been incredible to watch your development as a driver from when we first saw you racing in other leagues to where you are now. Congratulations on this win. Enjoy it, and good luck next week.
Thank you.
As that is going to be your winner here tonight, Christopher Norris in the 38 machine. He had to beat out the 32 of Zach Hall, who dominated, got the stage win, but it came down to the final pit stop. And I know the frustration might be there, Zach, but how are you feeling after tonight's run? I know the win was the ultimate goal.
Yeah, win was the goal, and second's what it was. I know I could say a lot more, but it's I'm gonna just try to keep my calm, and I just gave one up there. That was just dumb on my part. I knew when he was pitting. I mean, I could have pit right with him, and I felt like, okay, I'll just let him pit that 1 lap earlier, and we come back around to that 10th lap of that run, and I was going to pit with 10 to go. That was the plan all the way. It was 10, 10, 10, and we caught some lap traffic in that lap, and it really hurt me in the middle part of the lap with just the dirty air because they were on fresh tires and right in front of me, and I had the old tires, so I was sliding around a lot. And then when we got to the chicane, the bus stop, they all checked up, and I think they were trying to let me by. So I can't blame any of them because I think they're just trying to let me by as the leader. But we were side by side as we went through the bus stop, and I I'm on the outside and the inside for the last corner, so I couldn't get the pit road. So I knew at that point the race was kind of done. I was surprised I came out as close as I did, and I was able to get back to the lead. I mean, the tire model right now is just very tough because if you just push and try to catch somebody, you get in their air and you just overwork everything. And I don't know. I mean, I gave it back to him by wrecking. So I mean, good on Christopher.
I mean, Zach, you kind of answered the question I was going to ask you. Was having that extra 2-lap tire advantage on him? I mean, was it all used up trying to catch back up to him? And we know in the next gen car that the tire wear kind of is non-existent. It's more tire heat. But with these next gen cars, or I'm sorry, with the Xfinity cars, I mean, just how difficult is it, especially at a long road course like this, to keep the tires underneath you to consistently have some speed and traction out of the corners?
It's actually really difficult. How long the track is, you can really hurt the tires. And the track is a patience track, I feel like. And when you put yourself behind somebody and you got to run them down, you kind of start losing that patience. And what I was doing all throughout the race was just hitting my marks. And you see that person in front of you, you just try to catch them a little bit more. And then he got a slowdown, I think, coming through a rouge. So he gave me the easy pass. I mean, well, I guess not easy. I had to kind of move him out the way with him trying to clear the slowdown on my nose, I guess. But I had to move him out of the way there. I thought it was clear sailing and just made too many mistakes. I just started sliding and we got close. We were starting to use every off track. I mean, I think at the beginning of the race, I barely had any incidents. And there at the end, I saw him using every bit of the track. So I'm like, well, now I got to do it. And I hadn't really done it the whole race. So I think that kind of threw me off and made my marks change. But I mean, nonetheless, I got beat. So we got to move on after this one.
And moving forward, Zach, there's some racetracks we know that you've been fast at before. We've got ourselves coming forward, Charlotte, Martinsville, and then in 3 weeks, it's the track that you debuted for the Full Send Racing Series and got the victory at. We're heading in Indianapolis Oval. How are you feeling about these next 3 races? Is it kind of get this track out of your mind as soon as possible and think about the future as we're in the second half of the regular season?
Yeah, I think my mindset changed tonight. Take no prisoners. I'm going to try to win every race now. I can't believe what I did tonight, giving up the win. So I'm putting extra thought into these races. I think Charlotte will be a good one. I ran a race there last season, or in the Xfinity car when I debuted with these guys and did pretty good. Martinsville, of course, we won. And Indianapolis, I think it don't matter what car you put me in there. I love that place. So I'm ready to go. It doesn't matter if we're on the road course, the dirt track in the middle. Maybe, I don't know, maybe we're good there, but we'll have a good time, I think, in these next 3 and try to get some playoff points. I got the stage win tonight. That was huge for playoff points because that's what I want to build up really here is some playoff points before we head to those playoffs, man.
Well, Zach, still an impressive run here tonight, and second place is yours. And before we let you go, the floor is now yours for any more shout-outs.
First off, shout out to my teammates at Freaky Fast Racing. I mean, Christopher Norris, great job on him tonight, getting the win. It's hard to say good win to him because just the circumstance. I know how I messed that one up, but the kid is amazing. His growth has been tremendous, and I might have to start sharing less secrets with him if he keeps getting a little bit faster. So we'll have to think about that for the future. But also shout out to the league here at Full Send, all the sponsors that help put it on here, and to, of course, you guys up in the booth each and every week putting on a great show.
You should just be calling it the Cat 5 development crew. You guys are making some fast drivers out there. But again, congratulations, Zach, on second, and good luck in these future races.
Thanks, Sam.
As we move from second place, we head down to third, where really didn't talk about this driver much tonight. It was quiet, but at least a fantastic finish for the 3-time winner here this season. We got Brian McCann with us. Brian moved up 5 positions from where you qualified 8th. Finished 3rd. I mean, we didn't get to talk about you much because we were talking about the drama behind you for the first half of the race. Then the end, it was about the front 2. And then you found yourself smack dab in the middle. How are you feeling after your run here tonight?
Oh, feeling amazing. Didn't really have much practice at this track. Bought it a long time ago, played around with it some, but I think this was my first race here and wasn't really sure how it would go. I just focused on, not making mistakes. I don't know how Norris and Hall was, turning the lap times they were, but I felt like I was on close to the edge, but I kind of stayed off of it, just played it safe, and come home with a podium, so I couldn't be happier.
I mean, Brian, through the first half of the regular season, I mean, 3 wins and a good solid run here tonight. I mean, how are you feeling going into the next couple of races, them being Charlotte, Martinsville, and Indianapolis?
all 3 tracks I love. Charlotte's my hometown. Martinsville is a flat track. I love flat tracks. And then Indianapolis, yeah, that's a fun one too. 4 different turns.
Well, Brian, it has been a great season for yourself so far. What do you feel like you can take away from today's race, if anything, moving forward into this season?
I didn't really know what kind of settings to come into. I don't have a lot of experience with Xfinity on road, so I learned some stuff there. So I don't know what to do next time. And I was pretty much just overdriving the front tires, I think. So I'll carry that forward.
Good knowledge to grab for our first race of the playoffs later in the season when we head to the Roval. Congratulations on a third place finish, Brian. And before we let you go, the floor is now yours for any shout outs.
Yeah, I'd like to thank my family, my wife, you guys for doing the broadcast, league admins, race control, sponsors, this big show you got going on here, and I love it. I love seeing it on YouTube and everywhere else you broadcast. I'd like to give a shout out to my repeat 1975, my in-car spotter. He gives me all kinds of good information, and especially this road course is really hard and technical to drive. I don't have to look around at my other stuff, so big shout out to him.
Well, that will be your third place finisher, the number 8 machine of Brian McCann. Congratulations on third, and good luck next week.
Thank you.
As we go from third place, we're going to head to our biggest mover of the day. Wasn't able to get a time in for qualifying, so had to start all the way back in 21st position, but finishing the day off with a top 5 run. Cedric, congratulations on being our biggest mover of the day, up 16 positions. Man, how was your day going through the field?
It was eventful, that's for sure. Obviously, we intended to set down a qualifying time, and unfortunately, I got an incident kind of in the kink or whatever to finish my first lap, and then at that point, the first lap is the fastest lap, so I did reset, and realized pretty much after I reset that I just don't have enough time to get around and actually make a lap. So I tried. I pretty much went full send on my second lap and just came up short. So yeah, I had to drive through the field. It was definitely eventful. There's a lot of stuff going on. I will say I think my attitude towards racing some of these guys in the league has completely changed over the last few weeks. I think I've given them I've given a lot while racing some of these guys, and unfortunately it's gotten me on the tow truck every week. So my attitude's completely changed. So every time I got to run on somebody, I just sent it. Didn't really care if there was a space or not. I made it 3 wide a few times tonight, going down the straightaways, and obviously it worked. So I guess that's what I'll have to continue doing going forward.
I mean, Cedric, coming to Spa, I mean, a track that some people might have some experience in. A lot of times in the GT cars, LMP cars, maybe some of the Formula cars here on iRacing. A track made for kind of high downforce cars. What's the feeling like out there in the big heavy Xfinity car? Getting it to get around this racetrack.
The thing I struggled probably with the most was rear grip. I felt like I was, especially on a braking, if I went in a little bit too deep and had to kind of start turning the wheel while braking, the rear end just would slide out, and I would wheel hop if I'd go in too deep. So definitely getting these things slowed down for some of the more windy corners, I guess. I'm blanking on the name of the corner. The big left-hander going downhill. Puhan is the name of the corner. I would constantly get loose there, and then the 2 right-handers right before the long straightaway with the kink. So those were definitely interesting corners. I'm not great, even in a high downforce car at this track. We pretty much struggled a lot when we were here for the 24-hour race. I would say it was about 1 or 2 months ago. We drove a BMW GT3 and didn't really have too much pace there. And I think even if we would have qualified tonight, we maybe would have been racing for third or just settling for fourth. So we didn't have a winning pace, but we'll take a top 5 considering we started 21st.
It was an incredible surge that you had here tonight, Cedric. Congratulations on a top 5 finish. And before we let you go, the floor is now yours.
I appreciate it, man. I want to give you guys a huge shout out as always. You guys do an awesome job. I will be going back and rewatch the broadcast tomorrow. I'm really interested to see what happened with the leaders there with a couple laps to go. Norris said that he didn't have anything to do with it, but it's Christopher Norris, so I'll need video evidence to prove it otherwise. I want to give a shout out to all the drivers, the fans that tune in on a weekly basis, as well as my team for the series, Hack Racing. Stitz had a good run. I guess he had something happen pretty early in the race that kind of set him back, but he drove up to, I believe, his 7th or so. So congrats to him on the top 10, as well as Holland had a rough race, but I'm sure he'll bounce back next week and get himself a good finish. And shout out to Cole out there. If in case he's watching, I know he had a bunch of personal stuff going on, and he won't be around for the next couple or a few weeks, from what he told me. So I hope everything's going well with him, and I wish him the best.
Well, that is going to be your 5th place finisher and our spotlight driver for our interviews. Cedric Hunter, congratulations on a solid finish and recovery from qualifying, and good luck in these next couple of weeks.
I appreciate it, man. Thank you.
As we head from interviews, we get ourselves prepared for the unofficial results here tonight. It is still head-scratching, baffling when you see that it's the 38, Christopher Norris, finding himself in a victory lane here tonight. And the unofficial results, I mean, you never think that you're going to see a driver get their first win, let alone a driver that you've seen grow these last couple of years. From when we saw him running in other leagues we used to broadcast, Christopher Norris gets it done. Zach Hall, who looked like the driver that was going to win this race until that last pit stop that shook everything up, finds himself in 2nd. Ryan McCann 3rd. 4th goes to Cameron Sarton. Cedric Hunter 5th. 6th goes to Brian L. Wilson. What a run for that 9 machine as well to get a top 10 run. Chris Ditz, another driver, great recovery run. Brandon Colley gets 8th. 9th goes to Dalton Alexander, dealing with the front end damage. And another driver with front end damage, Ken Campbell, taking 10th.
Yeah, right outside the top 10, driver who had a great run, just a little bit of mistakes there at the end, took him out of a chance at the top 10, and that would be Tyler Thomas. John Dart, who we didn't talk about a lot as well, down there in 12th. Sam Siegel with a great run. Jay Becker with a good recovery run for himself in 14th. We saw him get into the wall going up a Rouge at one point after contact with the 11 of Tyler Thomas. So great recovery for the 10 of Jay. Travis Dart down there. Jonathan Burt, Joshua Altus down there, 18th and 19th. Nick Holland, who had a couple of issues early on in this race for himself, going to be able to recover to a top 20 run. Curtis Falechka with another nice, quiet 21st place run for himself, so getting another good quiet run, along with Christopher Melton, just keeping their noses clean, getting a good top 25 finishes for themselves. Alex Jones, we saw have issues early on with Tony Brent down there in 23rd. David McConnell had issues. Ryan Lynch, Jacob Grant, William Duff, Caleb Smith all have issues throughout the course of the night down there in the bottom half of 20 from 25th on back. And then Peter Dillon, unfortunately not able to connect here tonight. It's going to be our 30th place finisher.
Yeah, a tough night for some of those drivers deep in the field, but they're hoping that they can recover as we're heading to a track that all drivers in iRacing, once you subscribe, you get the track for free. They're heading to Charlotte Motor Speedway, a track that everyone has to learn almost immediately. For our next week, it's going to be a good one. We've only got a handful of races left before the playoffs begin, and for Christopher Norris, he is now officially locked in to run for a championship and into the playoffs after outplaying and Zach outdriving himself and taking the victory. Congratulations to that 38 machine. And for us here at Freaky Fast Broadcasting, thanks for joining with us. If you'd like to see even more great racing action, well, first and foremost, remember to hit that subscribe button and the bell notification so we make sure you're notified when we go live. And on top of that, if you like, share our broadcasts, it really helps out the leagues. But what helps out the most is commenting after the broadcast is over, going down. What was your favorite moment of the race? For myself, it has to be that final pass for the lead. For others, it might have been the big wrecks and the big spills. But as the races continue on, we love the interaction from you, the audience, to each and every one of our videos. And if that isn't enough, well, we got 2 more races left this week. We head to running in the Gen 4s tomorrow night for the WSSR Roasted Gems Cup Series. The concrete, it was dangerous. It was wild at Bristol. Well, let's now go to the mile distance Dover track and see what Miles the Monster has for the Roasted Gems drivers. And then on Thursday night, we go international once again as the Stars and Stripes head to Japan as they're going to be tackling Twin Ring Motegi, as that course is going to be a difficult one. I've been talking to some of the drivers. They are not confident, Trevor, on what the Gen 4 machine is going to do with that track.
Yeah, it's a tough track to conquer, especially in the Gen 4 car. So that one's going to be fun to tune into and watch. And then, of course, you know, the Miles the Monster Dover, the high speed, high banks, concrete track at Dover, the tire wear, especially in the Gen 4 car. That's going to be a fun one to tune into on Wednesday as well.
And then we take the weekend off, and Monday night we're back to racing action in the Truck Series. The ISRC Truck Series start their playoffs off with Talladega. How is the wildcard race for the first round of the playoffs going to be hurting or helping drivers? You'll find out Monday night. Again, remember to subscribe to be notified when we go live. Or if you've been a regular watcher of the Full Send Racing Series, same time next week, these drivers in the Xfinity car get prepared to tackle Charlotte. Well, Zach, he's felt like he's now awakened. The beast is ready. He's a driver that got 7 wins last season and grabbed the championship. Trevor, I would say for this league, with the way Zach talked in that interview, I'd be kind of terrified on the fact that Zach might be coming back and ready to take another championship.
Yeah, I'd be a little bit worried, especially looking at these tracks that are coming up. Charlotte, we know he's quick at. Martinsville, we know he's quick at. And then, I mean, you go to what is hands down his favorite track. And I think, you know, thinking back to season 3 when we were there in the Xfinity car, his first race in the league, and kind of him walking away with it. If I'm these guys, I'd be a little bit worried, but we'll have to wait and see. I mean, we saw one mistake tonight that could cost you a win. Who knows these other tracks if we'll see more mistakes, but I definitely be watching out for that 32 machine from going forward.
I've been saving you, Trevor. I will say commentator's curse might have been why Zach fell short. We were taught last commercial break. Trevor did say, hey, I haven't seen Zach make a mistake yet, and it happened. I'm sorry, Trevor had to throw you under the bus. Just more motivation for Zach for himself.
You're just trying to get him to not like me. It's what it is. First it's the stats, now it's the commentator's curse. So you're just trying to, you know, make Zach hate me. I see how it is.
Got to be an instigator sometimes. Well, thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, for joining with us on Freaky Fast Broadcasting for the Full Send Racing Series on your Tuesday evening. If you would like we said, see more racing action, remember to subscribe and hit that bell notification button. But for myself, Sam Dyer, Trevor Earhart, Robert Moyer Jr., and everyone else here at Freaky Fast Broadcasting, thank you for joining with us. Congratulations to Christopher Norris, the newest winner of the Full Send Racing Series. And we'll see you tomorrow night, Wednesday, WSSR. Who's going to conquer Miles the Monster? We'll find out on our next Freaky Fast broadcast.